Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Mr. Aynesworth. We're going to get right into a lesson here in financial algebra in section 2.4 and switch from simple interest to compound interest. So, again, this is section 2.4. I'm going to start off doing a calculation by hand. So, obviously get out some graph paper here and work with me here if you guys are doing this virtually, which you probably are. And you can either use Desmos.com. All right, so if you are using, if you don't have a calculator, that is, and you are in need of one, just type in desmos.com/scientific and you have a calculator right here. Okay, so go ahead and use that to your advantage. Desmos is free. It's probably this one and the graphing calculator that are available are probably the best graphing calculators on the planet that are free, other than GeoGebra. Of course, that's another great one. So just grab a scientific calculator. You can even use your phone as long as you know how to use it. Okay, so grab a calculator. Here we go. So I'm going to be using the TI-84 to do all the calculations so you can see it side by side. And then after this, after we do it by hand and we appreciate all the arithmetic that's involved and all the steps that are involved, we're going to switch and go to a spreadsheet. And I'm going to show you the power of a spreadsheet, because once you learn how to use Excel or Google Sheets as they're called, or on a Mac, if you are Mac users, you can use a program called Numbers, which are standard on a Mac. You can just Google that and find some videos and some people showing you how to do that on the Mac. They all do the same thing. Okay, so here, let's go right into it. All right, title this 2-4 and compounding interest, and let's go through an example. So let's suppose that we throw $30,000 in the bank. That's the initial deposit, or what's called the principal. All right, so let's suppose, all right, we have an initial deposit. Let me get my real pen here. Sorry, excuse me. So let's suppose, that's better. All right, we deposit. We're going to use the same example as in the lesson here, although I'm going to expand on it here because it was never finished by hand. And then we're going to deposit $30,000 in the bank, okay, into account that has, let's say, a 6% interest rate, and we're going to let it ride for 5 years. So we're going to deposit $30,000, okay, at a simple interest rate. So at a simple interest rate, okay, of 6%. All right, and as a decimal, that's 0.06. 6 divided by 100 is 0.06, and we're gonna let it ride, or let it sit for 5 years untouched. Okay, so suppose we deposit. That means we put it into the bank at a simple interest rate for 6%, or at 6%. All right, for 5 years. So that's your time period. So at or for 5 years. Now, simple interest is an annual interest rate. Okay, so that's important. Time is always measured in years when you use the simple interest formula. Let's see what we get, and then what we're going to do is we're going to calculate what it is compounded annually for 5 years, and we'll see the difference between the two. All right, so if we're going to make this calculation right here, if this is a simple interest rate, or an APR, annual interest rate of 6%, so what we do, so we know that the simple interest formula is PRT, our principal times rate times time. So for us, the principal right here is $30,000. Let me write that better. $30,000. There we go. All right, times the rate as a decimal, so 0.06. And time is in years, T is in years. And so we're going to let this ride for 5 years. And what do we get? So what's the interest accumulated? So the interest, we take 30,000. Maybe we should turn this calculator on. Okay, so there we go. That's a little bit better. On the TI-84s, you got to turn it on. All right, they're not solar powered. All right, times the interest rate of 0.06 or 6% times 5 years. This is what the bank's going to give you after 5 years without touching. Okay, so without deposits or withdrawals. Okay, so that's a little note. Let me make a little note of that. So no further deposits or withdrawals. Okay, that means you don't put anything in the bank for 5 years, and you do not subtract anything. You don't make any withdrawals. Okay, WD withdrawal. Okay, so now we know that the bank's going to give us $9,000 after 5 years. This is after 5 years, okay? You have to understand that. This is a simple interest calculation. Not compounded, this is simple interest calculation. Very important that you guys understand that. So this is based upon the principal only over time, not the principal plus the interest over time. It's a different calculation. So the ending balance is obviously equal to the original principal, $30,000, plus the interest accrued, okay, which means the bank pays you that much for keeping it in the bank that long, okay, which is obviously $39,000. So after 5 years, if you were going to invest in a simple interest account, which there are plenty, usually never at 6%, that's high. This is just a fictitious example, which means not real. Okay, most accounts are less than 6% at a simple interest rate. You're going to end up with $39,000 at the end. All right, but what you guys need to realize is that there's a lot better way of doing things. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate it again, but this time we're going to compound it annually. So suppose you compound the interest annually. And then you have to understand what it means to compound. So to do that, to understand what it means to compound, we're going to do it two ways. We're going to do it by hand here first, and we're going to compare it to this number here, the ending number. And then we're going to use a spreadsheet to calculate it too, and you're going to see the power of the spreadsheet. So we're going to suppose you compound the money, the same money, the interest. All right, annually. That means once a year. Annually, once per year. So at the end of the year, you put the interest back in the account, and then you calculate the next year's interest based upon the original principal plus the first year's interest, which is obviously more than what you started with. So this is once per year. Okay, suppose you compound the interest annually for 5 years. Okay, so the same situation. So 5 years, all right, at a simple interest rate at 6%, okay, annually. All right, so the question is how much do you have after 5 years? All right, so let's do the calculation. So this one's going to take a little bit of work. And the reason why we're going to do it is because if we don't do it, then you can't appreciate the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet makes it easy. All right, and the only reason why you know that is by making the calculation yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the same or the new amount after 5 years, but we're going to compound the interest annually, which means we're going to put the interest in the account after every year, and the interest accrued or obtained the following year is based upon the original balance plus the interest gained, which means the interest is based upon a bigger amount every year. So we should get more interest every year. So here we go. All right, so let's keep track of this. So after 1 year, okay, let's figure out what we have. So the interest, we're investing $30,000 at 6%. So after the first year, okay, we got to multiply it again. This is P times R times T. That's our main formula here. So let me highlight that. So it's always PRT, right? In terms of this right here. This is the step-by-step method, not the formula-based method that we can do later on. So there are more advanced ways to do this that you will learn, but this is how you learn it in the beginning. So we're going to take $30,000 multiplied by 6% as a decimal. Okay, and we're going to let it ride for 1 year, so you got to multiply it by 1. What's going on here with my pens? Okay, let me see this. Well, that's good enough. Okay, and what do we get? Well, let's figure it out. Well, we already figured this out, but let's do it again. Okay, so let's keep it on track on the calculator. So we're going to enter in 30,000. Let's start over. So enter in 30,000. All right, multiply by 6% or 0.06. Times it by 1 on the calculator is kind of silly. All right, you could do that, but you don't need to, right? Now, what's the new balance? Okay, so the balance, all right, actually is this number here, the interest, right? That's your interest plus the original balance. Okay, you have to add these, and that's what you get. It's always the principal plus the interest. That's your new balance. So you gained $1,800 the first year, so you got to add that to the 30,000. So you can do that in your head. You get 31,800, or you can just enter in plus 30,000 if you want to be robotic, and you can get 31,800. So that's how much you have after 1 year. Notice I said after 1 year here. Okay, and that makes sense because we did that earlier. Now let's do it again. So after 2 years, after the second year. After the second year, what would we have? Well, the interest after the second year, what you're going to have to do is take the balance that you had at the end of year 1, which happens to be 31,000 here, 800, all right? And then, so I'm going to write down 31,800, and then calculate the interest based upon that. So it's 6%, so that's 0.06. All right, and you let it ride for 1 year, so times 1. Now I only put the 1 there because you have to understand that it's always PRT, principal times rate times time, and the time is 1 year, right? So after the second year is over, 1 year has passed. So that number is actually important. It doesn't really affect the calculation here, but you have to understand that I'm multiplying by 1, t equals 1 here. So what is that? Well, now the number 31,800 is already in the T84. So all you have to do is press times 0.06, and you get $1,908. Okay, so $1,908. That's what the interest is after the second year. Well, you get to add that to the original balance. So what does that give you? Well, balance is equal to the 31,800 plus this number here. So that number is already in the calculator. So you have to add the starting balance in the beginning of the year. So type in plus 31,800. Okay, and you get a new balance of 33,708. Okay, so here we go. So $33,708. Now that's what we have it in year 2. So now we get to use that. All right, so after the third year, so let's calculate it after year 3. Well, to do that, we got to calculate the interest first. So to calculate the interest, we get to use the amount that we ended with after year 2 in our calculation. So $33,708. All right, times our interest rate of 6% or 0.06 times 1 year. So at the third year mark, all right, we take the previous year's balance. So at the end, at December 31st, all right, at the end of the second year, December 31st, we ended up with 33,708. Now we let that money is in the bank. All right, we calculate 6% on that, not the original 30,000. This is what compounding is all about. You get interest on more and more money as it goes, and that's why you heard people say it's snowballing. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You're earning more and more money because the percentage is based upon a bigger amount, not the original, like in simple interest. So it's a different situation. So you want to go times 0.06, and you get about $2,022.48. This is the interest, okay? So $2,022.48. So what's the balance for that? So let's calculate that. All right, so what we have to take this number here and add 33,708 to it. that's what we got to do. We got to add those guys. Okay, in other words, we have to take this number plus this number to get this number here. Principal balance, the new balance is what you started with plus the interest obtained. All right, so that number is already in the calculator. So just enter plus $33,708. Don't hit the clear button. All right, the number is already in the calculator. So now we have $35,000. All right, $730.48. All right. Okay, now that money gets used in the next year's calculation. Okay, so here we go. So after year 4, what do we have? So after the 4th year, got to calculate the interest first. Well, we're going to use this number here, which is $35,730.48. We're going to calculate the interest on that because we compound it. All right, that's what compounding is all about. There we go. All right, so what's the interest on that? Well, all you do is go times 0.06. All right, and you get $2,143.83. You're gonna have to round a little bit there because you got to round to the nearest hundredth. So we get $2,143.83. This is the interest now. Okay, so we have to add these values. So we have to add this quantity plus this quantity here, and it gives us a balance of, whatever these two added together are. So all you have to add, you just go plus here, that previous amount, the previous amount that we ended up with the previous year, which happens to be $35,730. Make sure you press the right buttons here. All right, make sure you check that right there. And then you hit the enter button, and if you have to round it. So what do we have? So we have $37,874.31. Okay, now we're almost done, believe it or not. So after year 5, here we go, after the 5th year. Okay, how much do we have? Well, we got to calculate the interest first. Well, guess what? We use the previous year and we calculate from that. So we ended in the 4th year was that much. So $37,874.31. The interest is based upon always the preceding amount. That's what compounding is all about. Okay, so we're going to go times 0.06. And we get $2,272.40, roughly 46 cents. So $2,272.46. That's the interest. Okay, and oh boy, got some TV in the background. Sorry, guys. So, and you have to add these together, all right, to get the balance. All right, and you're going to get this new number here. So what are these two in green added up together? So all you do is add $37,000, all right, $874.31, and you see what you get. All right, and we get $40,146, $40,146.77. Okay. Now, that is how it's calculated, and as you can tell, it is pretty intense. I mean, that's how it's done. That's how it's done for any compounded situation. All right, conceptually speaking. Now, when you compound monthly or quarterly or daily or continuously, that's a slightly different. You're gonna have to do some modifications on this. All right, but that's basically how you do it. Okay, now let me do something cool tech-wise here. Now, there is a faster way to do it on the calculator that I want to show you, but before I do, let me just grab a screenshot of what's going on here. Okay, gotta love technology. All right, because it's easy to do some cool stuff like this right here. So here's what we did. Okay, so that's the end result based upon what I've talked about already. Now there is a slick way to calculate this in a much faster way. So let me show you that before we switch to a spreadsheet here and do it on the spreadsheet. Oh, by the way, you know what? Let me stop right now. I forgot something. Let's compare it to what we calculated above. Now, if you invest the money at a bank with only simple interest and it's not compounded, okay, you'll notice that we only get, after 5 years, $39,000 at 6%. Now, if you compound your money, you're obviously going to get a little bit more. All right, how much more will you get? Well, you got to subtract those two. So you can tell that we get more money if we compound it annually at the same interest rate for the same amount of money for the same amount of time. So it really pays to do things in a compounded fashion. All right, and if you want to figure out how much better it is, all you do is subtract this 39,000. So let's do that. All right. And you'll see that we gained quite a bit more. We gained over $1,100, $1,146.77. All right, so quite a bit more. So we gained $1,146.77. All right, by compounding. That's super important, because when people invest literally millions of dollars or even billions of dollars when it comes to like big companies like Microsoft and many other big companies here, or even the federal government, we're talking about billions and trillions of dollars here. The way you invest your money matters, and so you want to invest it in the best way possible, and we'll talk about that over time. Okay, there is even a better way to do it than compounding annually. Okay, so this is obviously better, but how do you do it on a spreadsheet? And before we get to that, oh, I forgot, I want to show you something here. Okay, so here's how you do it really quick on the calculator. Here we go. So let's enter in 30,000 again. Back, press clear so you can get a clear screen. So enter in 30,000. Now, instead of multiplying it by 0.06 like I did earlier and then adding the interest to the principal, which takes obviously more steps, what you do is you take your principal, which is 30,000, and you multiply it not by 6%, guys, but by 106%. Okay, now 106% as a decimal is 1.06. So watch this. So times 1.06. Just watch, keep your eyes on the calculator. Now notice that's 31,800. That's the first balance right here. This is the balance after 1 year. Now you multiply that by 1.06 again, and you get the balance after year 2. So if you look here, that's the same, 33,708. Then you multiply it by 1.06 again, and you get the balance after third year, which is $35,730.48, which I calculated earlier. And then after 4 years, you go times 1.06 again, and you get this new number, and that's after 4 years. And then you multiply it by 1.06, which again is just 106%, and you get the ending balance. Okay, so this method here is much simpler on the calculator, that is. Okay, and you can calculate the ending balance, okay, very, very quickly, believe it or not, when you're doing this by hand. So this doesn't show all the calculations because the TI-84 is not able to show all of them because the screen's limited. But notice the end results are the same, but the method is totally different. All right, so I just want to show that to you because you can make all these calculations on the TI-84 and do a compounded annual interest for 5 years, 10 years, very, very quickly on the TI-84 if you know how to do it. Otherwise, it's going to take you multiple calculations. So that's just a little, a little tip there on how to use the calculator a little bit more effectively. Now, if you want to see how things change dynamically, okay, then you need a spreadsheet. And what I mean by dynamically is that if I ask you right now to do this calculation here for, let's say, 32,000 instead of 30,000, you'd have to repeat everything I just did, which would take you time. Or if I ask you to calculate the ending balance for $30,000, but not at 6%, but at let's say 5% or 4% or 2%, you'd have to redo this every single time. And my friends, in business, we don't have that kind of time. All right, so you need to do it in a dynamic fashion where you can change either the principal or the interest rate or the time, all three of those variables, at, let's say, in a dynamic fashion or at any moment, and get the new balance like within a nanosecond. Okay, and that, my friends, requires a spreadsheet. So let's do it. So here we go. So let's open up the Google Sheets here. So open up your account, log into your email account, and go up here. Let's see, let me see my email account here. If I just go into it here, you go to the waffle right over here, and you click on this baby, and you go to the Google Sheets right here, and now you're in Google Sheets, all right, from your email account. So that's easy to do. Just go ahead and pick a blank spreadsheet, and you're really good to go. All right, so get to Google Sheets. I'm sure you guys hopefully have done that at least once in your time, since you guys are seniors. But if you haven't, well, then this is a learning situation, right? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to develop this spreadsheet, everything that you're looking at here. All right, the question is how you do it. And notice that the principal is $30,000, the interest rate is 6%, and notice after 5 years right here, you get the same ending value at $146.77. I think that's the same as this. Oh my goodness, look at that. Okay, and what's cool about this is if I just change the value from 30,000 to, let's say, 20,000, all right, no problem. It recalculates it after 5 years automatically, like within a nanosecond. If I want to change the interest rate to 5%, no problem, just change it. And then after 5 years, from 20,000, now I have $25,525.63. The question is, how do you design a spreadsheet that does this for you? And that's the whole intent of the lesson. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do that. So what you guys need to do is grab a brand new Google Sheet. Okay, if you already have a Google Sheet, you can come down here and just hit the plus sign, and you can get a second sheet in your main one right here. So you can do that. Now, we are going to compare compounding annually versus semi-annually versus quarterly using a spreadsheet. We're going to do all three of them. At least we're going to try. All right, and see how it goes. Okay, so let's do this. Go ahead and open your spreadsheet. Okay, so again, this is our goal, just so you can see it, but the question is, how do you design it? How does it all work? All right, and I'll go slow, and this is a video too, right? So since it's a video, you can always pause, play, and rewind, right? That's what people do. Okay, all right, so what we need to do is start fresh. So pretend we're starting fresh here. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in the title of our lesson up here at the top. Now, this is the name that gets automatically saved in your Google Drive. All right, so to go ahead and type in this title right in through here: compounding annually versus semi-annually versus quarterly using a spreadsheet. And again, this is a video, so I suggest that you pause and play throughout the video, because I may go too fast, I may not, and it depends on your typing speed and whatnot. Okay, so okay, now this is our goal. I'm on sheet 2 here. I'm going to just repeating what I did earlier. So here we go. What we're going to do, since you type that in, go ahead and copy it. So highlight it, go Control C. Now again, you're going to have to learn this. It's slightly different using the program called Numbers on the Mac. There are plenty of videos in YouTube for how to do the same thing in a Mac, and if you want to use the Mac, be my guest that it's just as powerful as this. It's just done slightly differently. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy that and we're going to paste it in right here. So go Control V right here, and notice that it goes past the cell. Okay, it's not, these are called cells. A1 is a cell. The next one here is B1. It's column B, row 1, so that's called B1. And then so on. This is C1, this is D1, and so on. Notice it goes past the cell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up for a second here. I'm going to just delete this just for fun. Don't worry about it. You can always copy it back or paste it back in there. What I want to do is merge these cells here together so that we have room enough for a long title. So go ahead and go all the way from A1 to E1. We're going to come over here and we're going to merge those cells together to make one cell. Alright, those are called cells. We're going to click on that. We're going to merge horizontally, and notice that it looks like one cell now. Okay, in that cell, I'm going to go back up here. If you want to, go Control C and copy, come back down here and paste it in. Pasting is Control V, okay, or you can go right click, I suppose. But go ahead and paste that in, and notice we have a title now. Compounding annually, semi-annually versus quarterly on a spreadsheet. Alright, now we need some other titles, so let's type them in. So the first one here, and type with me here, we're going to type in compounded annually. Okay, compounded annually. And the good thing for you guys is that I'm not a fast typist. Okay, so notice this went beyond the first cell. Alright, so what we need to do there is probably merge those cells. We're going to drag this right here, and let's go back and do the same thing. Let's merge horizontally. Woo. That's okay. Okay, so we're going to compound annually there. In the second cell here, or the next one here, let's in C2, let's type in the word principal. All right, which is your beginning balance or your beginning deposit. So make sure you type it as a PAL, not a PLE, principal. All right, and then let's go down here in row 3, and let's type in some other titles. We want to put the year in column 1. Go ahead and tab over there to column B, and we're going to type in the principal again. All right, which is just the beginning balance. So just make a little note of that. Dash beginning balance here. Beginning balance, that's fine. All right, you can type in money sign if you'd like. Okay, notice that right there. Notice that it goes beyond the cell. So I'm going to stop for a moment. I'm going to click up here in the upper left-hand corner and select the entire spreadsheet. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to find this icon right here that says text wrapping. So one more time, go up here to the upper left, click on that upper left corner there. It highlights the entire spreadsheet. Go over to this icon right here where it says text wrapping. If you just hover above the icons up here, it'll tell you what each one is all about. Go ahead and select text wrapping right there, and then select the one in the middle where it says wrap. Okay, and notice what it does. It takes that long title that didn't really fit in the column, and it brought the word balance down below it, which is kind of nice. All right, so if your titles are too long, it will just return and go down below it and save you space. And it won't bleed into the next column. You don't want that to happen. Okay, next one, let's type in the word interest. We'll format everything later. Okay, so we got interest in that column. In the next column here in column D, let's type in account balance. Luckily for you guys, I'm not a fast typist at all, so you guys are probably able to keep up with me here. Okay, let's come over here to column F, okay, F3. So we're in column F, row 3. So notice that column F is highlighted, and so is row 3. So you can keep track of where I am by looking at the column heading, which is above it, and the row heading, which is all the way far to the left. Okay, now at this point, what we want to do is we need some more more titles. Okay, so let's type in a final account balance. Just hit return when you're done. Okay, or you can click tab actually to get to the next one here. And the next one here, this is G3 now, column G, row 3. Type in total amount you deposited. So total amount deposited. And hit return. Actually, we should have hit tab. Okay, tab will take you over to H, is where I wanted to go. And then on this one here, I want you to type in amount of interest earned. Actually, you know what? We'll hold off on that. No. Let's type it in. So amount, if I can type very well, amount of interest earned. There we go. All right. All right, and let's get to work, okay? Now, let's come down here to A4. So I'm in the first column in row 4 in the A4. So what I want to do is put in years 1 through 10, because what I want to do, well, we're going to do it for 10 years, but you know, our goal is to compare our numbers with what we did earlier here. So I only did it for 5 years. On the spreadsheet, though, we're going to do it for 10, and then in that spreadsheet, we're going to see where the 5th year is. It's going to be easy to find. Okay, so don't worry about that. All right, so in a spreadsheet, there's a lot of cool features. And like I said, it's a video, so you can pause, play, rewind anytime you want. Go 1, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter. Once the spreadsheet sees 3 numbers in a row, it sees the pattern. Okay, so what I want you to do is come up here to the first, to cell A4, which is year 1. All right, and then I want you to see this little box right here. I want you to bring it down, or excuse me, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let me, don't do that. Okay, so I want you to click and drag and highlight those 3 cells. Let me repeat that. You come up here to A4 on year 1. You go left click with your on the mouse. Okay, you press your mouse down, click and drag. Okay, now what that does is that it tells the Excel spreadsheet or the Google Sheet right here to see the pattern from the first 3 cells. And obviously the pattern is, it's an arithmetic series, and you simply add 1. Right? 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. It sees that. And the lower right hand corner, you'll see this little box, little square. Okay, and notice that if I hover above it, it changes, the cursor changes. And what you want to do is drag that down and put in at least go up to year 10. All right, and that should be all the way up to about here to row 13, because I started on row 4. All right, so if you do that, let the cursor go or let the mouse go, and you'll notice that it copies that pattern all the way down. And so these numbers here represent years 1 through 10. Okay. Now what we want to do is enter in a beginning balance now, or a principal. So let's go back to D2. Go back to D2, and we're going to put the principal there. Okay. Ooh, I forgot one thing. That's okay. We're going to modify something. All right, so the principal balance in our case is going to be $30,000. So we're going to enter in $30,000. And notice that it doesn't look like money yet. Okay? The way you make it look like money is to check the currency sign. So you want to select the cell that you want to format. You come up here to the titles, you select the dollar sign, which is the format, and we want to set it as a currency. Okay? That means money. So you click on that and notice that the dollar sign appears, and you see $30,000 with a comma in there, and also 0.00, because $30,000 obviously has 0 cents. Now it looks like money. Okay. Now what we want to do at this point right here, we want to start with the beginning balance. Now what's important with spreadsheets is that you want to create formulas in the spreadsheets. You don't want to put in numbers and make them static. You want it dynamic. So that if I change the beginning principal up here, let me highlight this and just make it bold here so you can see it. If I change this number here, then this one's automatically going to change. So I don't want to type in $30,000 there, so don't work ahead unless you know what you're doing. Okay, when you want to make a formula, use the equal sign. And this is one of those things that was talked about in the initial lesson. Okay, so type in equals whenever you're starting a formula here, and you want to select the cell that it equals, and I want it to select D2. Now you have an option. You can type in D2, or on the Google Sheet, you can just hover on D2 and click on it, and notice that D2 appears, and notice the value appears above it. It's equal to $30,000. And then you just hit enter, and then boom, $30,000 appear. So what's cool about this is that it's not static, it's dynamic. And what does that mean? Well, it means that if I change the original principal to $20,000, let's say, all right, notice that this cell B4 automatically changes depending on what I put in D2. I'm talking about this one up here. That's what dynamic means. As you change the spreadsheet, everything automatically changes. So it's nice in that. That's the power of a spreadsheet. You don't have to redo these calculations. Once you put all the correct formulas in, boom, you're set to go. Okay. Now the other thing we need is the interest rate. Okay, so we need an interest rate. So let's put in interest here. Let's just type it in. Actually, you know what? I don't want to put it here. I want to show you something here. So go ahead and click on row 3. Notice the entire row gets highlighted. Okay. If I want to insert a row, I'm going to go right click. Okay, and select one row above. I want one row above. So one more time. I go over here to row 3. If I want to insert a row, I go right click, insert a row above. Okay. Now the reason why I want to do that is because I have to enter in the interest rate. You can put it anywhere you want in the spreadsheet, but let's just put it here. Now let's bold these two cells. Okay. Now let's say the interest rate in our problem that we just talked about was 6%. Okay, so let's start off with that. Okay. So let's type in 6%. Now, as you guys know, as we did in the numerical example earlier, 6% is 0.06. So in our formulas, we have to take that into account. Okay, and that's a number, so I'm not going to put a dollar sign there. Okay, these numbers here in these cells here are monetary. They will be dollar amounts. So what we could do right off the bat, just to make sure everything is dollar amounts, we can highlight these cells here, click the money sign right up here, which will automatically change everything to money format or a currency format. So go ahead and do that. All right, one more time. You just click and drag, and you highlight the cells that are of interest in this area here, and you just select the money sign or the currency sign, and it will change every number you put in there to monetary, to money. All right, round it to the nearest hundredth, because we're dealing with pennies. All right, so now let's calculate the interest. Oh, let me change this back to 30,000. Let's go back to the original example. Okay, so we're dealing with $30,000. Now we want to calculate the interest on that. Now let's go back up here and let's type something here up here. Let's go comma and let's go type in I equals PRT. Enter. And let's put this let's click on row 4 and make them bold, just so I can see them a little bit better. Okay, there we go. Formatting usually helps. Like if you go back to row 1 and you want to make the title bold and you want to make it bigger to make it more visible, it's kind of nice. Okay, or let's keep it 12, so it's because we're constructed here. Let me just try it. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, we'll just keep it here. That's fine. If you want to keep it 10 font, that's fine too. Oh, you know what we can do? Just keep it that. That's because it looks nice right here. And let's make it just red so you can see it as a title. Okay. Here we go. No. We got to calculate the interest. Okay, so this is a calculation. It's a formula. So type in equal sign right here. And we want to base the interest or calculate the interest by taking the principal times the rate times the time. All right, so what we do is we click. We don't enter in 30,000 now. We click on the cell. Okay, remember, that's an important feature of Excel. Now, we want to take B5, which is $30,000, and we want to multiply it. And on the keyboard, it's Shift 8. Okay, there's a little asterisk above the number 8 on the keyboard. Go Shift 8, and you'll see an asterisk. That means times. And we want to multiply it by the interest rate. So I got to take the interest rate, which is in D3 now. All right, D3. And I've got to divide that by 100 to make it a percent. Or excuse me, a decimal. I got to change the percent as a decimal. So 6% as a decimal is 6 divided by 100. So I got to select. I got to go slash. So find the slash on your keyboard. Go divided by 100, and that will convert your interest rate to a decimal. All right. Now this right here, this number here does not change. It's static. So. And I don't want it to change according to the cells. So this is a really important point here. When that happens, you have to do something special in Excel. So I'm going to put this in parentheses, and to make it static so it stays at 6% and it doesn't change, you have to format it like this. You're going to use the dollar sign, and then in front of the D3, and then you're going to put another dollar sign in the middle of the D and the 3. And then keep that in parentheses. All right, what that will do in Excel is it will keep that number at 6% and won't change it when we paste or copy and paste the formula all the way down through the spreadsheet. All right, sometimes that's needed when you want to keep things constant. Like I said, this Excel is a dynamic program, and it changes as you copy the cells to different cells or copy the formula to different cells. So when you want something to remain the same, like I want to keep this at 6% every single time I calculate it from year to year, like in this. From year to year, I kept it at 6%, 0.06 all the way through. It's static, it doesn't change. Well, to do that, to make sure that happens, you have to insert the dollar signs in the front and in the middle of D and 3, okay, the cell where it comes from. Okay, now I'm not done with that yet. It's PRT. So let me bring up the formula here. Okay, so it's B5, which is original balance, P, principal, times the interest rate as a decimal. So I had to divide it by 100 times the length of time, which is 1. So in this case, you can times it by 1, but be kind of silly here. I mean, I could go Shift 8 and go times 1. You could actually do that. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that just for fun. But I wouldn't do that personally because 1 doesn't affect anything. And hit the enter button, and that's the amount that we have after the first year in terms of interest. And if we look up here, we got the same thing. Okay, look at after year 1, the interest is $1,800. Now to calculate the balance, I got to take the principal and add the interest to it to get $31,800. All right, so let's calculate it out on the spreadsheet. So again, it's a formula. And you don't type in the numbers, you type in the cell numbers. So you always start the formula with an equal sign. You come over here, I need the beginning balance. You don't type in 30,000, you click on the cell. Notice that B5 appears and it's equal to 30,000. All right, I want to add it to 1,800, so I go plus. Look at your keyboard, find the plus sign, click on the next cell, which is C5 in this case. All right, the $1,800 interest, right? That's what we gained after the first year, and then hit enter. And this is how much we have after year 1, and that corresponds to what we calculated earlier by hand. That's got 31,800. So everything jives with what we're doing by hand. Now this is the part that you're going to love. This is the part that's really cool about spreadsheets coming up here. Now, at the beginning of year 2, you have $31,800. So you don't type it in. You never type in the numbers, with the exception of the original balance, okay? Okay. All right, so what you're going to do is set up a formula. So you say equals. And the beginning amount at year 2 is what you end up with after year 1, which is in cell D5. So you just click on it. I mean, you could type in D5, but I think it's a lot easier just to click on the cell, and D5 appears, and it tells you right above it that it's $31,800. Okay, and then you hit enter. All right, and notice that D5 appears at this cell right here, which is B6. Again, the beginning of year 2 is what you end up with after year 1. And what's cool about this is that the interest is based upon this new amount, not the 30,000. So after year 2, you better end up with more interest than year 1, which is going to happen. Now, here's the beautiful part about spreadsheets. I've got a formula in this cell B6. I've got a formula here at C5, and I've got a formula built in D5. Okay, the only formula, oh, and I've got a formula here too as well. All of these are formulas. Now, what's cool about the spreadsheet and about Excel and all of that, excuse me for a moment. Okay, apologize for that. So what's cool about spreadsheets is that once you create a formula, you can copy and paste it in the column and apply the formula through all the cells in that column. So for example, every formula here has a little square on the lower right hand corner of the cell. What you do is you grab that, click on your mouse, okay, and then drag that, click and drag all the way down. And notice that there's a value here in cell C6 because there's a number here. C6 is actually based upon B6. Look up here, right up here in the cell formatting, and it says that C6 here is actually equal to B6, which is the cell to the left of it, right? Times interest rate times 1. It's PRT, as I said earlier. Well, the reason why there's 0 here is because this cell here in C7, again, we're on row 7 now. All right, that right there is based upon B7, and there's nothing there, okay? There's nothing there, and if it's based upon 0 because there's nothing there, then you're going to get 0 interest, right? So those make sense. Now, if you come over here and copy and paste all the way, click and drag basically, all right, you'll notice that we get zeros here as well. Why? Because there's no balance, there's no interest, and so there's not going to be an account balance. So those zeros make sense until you take this here and you click and drag all the way down. Watch what happens. And then the numbers magically appear. Okay, and this is the beauty of a spreadsheet, because right now I see in row 9, which is year 5. Okay, look at this is row 5 right here. Excuse me, year 5. Then I know I have, like this is all year 5 right here, that I have a total of $40,146.77. And guess what? That's what we calculated earlier by hand. Okay, and so everything jives with what we did earlier, and that's the beauty of spreadsheets. But I'm telling you guys, it calculates it all much, much faster. What's also cool about it is that I said it was dynamic. So if you change it from 30,000 to 20,000, okay, it'll recalculate it for you. And notice that we have less money at year 5. We only have $26,000 roughly, or almost $27,000. All right, but not as much as before because we started off with less amount. If you want to change the interest rate, no problem. Change it to 3, recalculate. It automatically calculates it for you. And that's what I meant by dynamic. It changes everything as you change the numbers. You can't do it that fast by hand. It's just impossible. No one in the planet can do it that fast. So let's bring it to $30,000 again, just to keep the example going. All right, put 6% interest rate there, and let's figure out the final results. Oh, speaking of that, you know what? Let's do something here. Let's highlight these cells above, right up here. So from F3 to F3 to H3, highlight those two, and let's merge those cells. Merge horizontally, and let's put a title in there. All right, let's call these final answers. Okay, let's center that too as well. So you just got to go use your menu up here, and you find your centering menu. Let's make that bold too. All right, and let's put it in red just for funsies. All right. Okay, so let's talk about final account balance. Now, the final account balance, after, we're going to talk about 10 years now. We're going to switch gears a little bit. After 5 years, it was this number here. All right, but after 10 years, it's $53,725.43. So your final account balance after 10 years, in fact, let me put that down. So after, let's go back up here and type that in, after 10 years. Okay, so there we go. So the final account balance after 10 years is going to be equal to something. So again, this is the formula. You don't take that number and type it in. Okay, that's not how you work with spreadsheets. You want things to change dynamically. So you don't enter in numbers, you enter in formulas. And anytime you enter in a formula, you start off with the equal sign. Okay, you're going to equal this number down here. Let's go to D14. You can type in D14, or you just click on the cell and hit enter. And notice that it takes whatever you have in D14 and brings it up here. Why? Because it's equal to D14. So what's cool about this is that, you know, everything changes dynamically, and as you change the principal and the interest rate, everything changes automatically. It's beautiful. Okay, so you got to learn spreadsheets because they're used all the time. We're going to do a budget one too later on too. Like, how do you figure out your monthly budget of all your expenses? You know, given a certain amount of income, given all these expenses. It's kind of a cool deal to do. All right, how do you calculate the total amount deposited? The total deposited is the original amount. So again, this is an equal to. It's a formula. And the total amount deposited is this number over here, 30,000. But we don't type in 30,000. You click on the cell. And notice the cell is B5. So you can type in B5, or what I like to do is just click on the cell. It's faster. And it tells you that B5 is 30,000. You hit enter, and then boom, 30,000 appears. Now, how do you calculate the amount of interest earned? Let's change the color on this just to highlight both of those cells, go up to the color icon. Let's change it to, I don't know, blue or something. Okay. So how do you calculate this? Well, let's see. We started off with $30,000. We ended up with $53,725.43. So how much interest do we earn? Well, we got to subtract these guys. And you don't type it in, all right? You use formulas, as I keep on repeating. You use formulas. So you take this number here in F5 and you subtract, so find the minus sign on your keyboard. All right, you subtract G5 and you hit the enter sign and it calculates it for you. And that's the interest that you've earned over 10 years. It's kind of nice. You earned $23,725.43. Pretty sweet. And that's the beauty of it. Now, in our previous example, we only went up to year 5 because we did it by hand. And you'll notice this one here. Let's just highlight it. Oh, it's not a good color. Okay, so that number there, $40,146.70, that was done earlier by hand when we compounded annually $30,000 at 6%. Okay. So, but the the calculation is a whole lot easier. Like I said before, if you change the principal to, let's say, 10,000, okay, notice the numbers change automatically. If you change the interest rate to 5%, notice that numbers change automatically. That's the dynamic feature of this. This is why spreadsheets are so widely used in business. In any financial situation, they're used because once you set up the formulas, which is easy to do once you get a lot of experience, all right, then all you do is just enter the numbers in, and then out pops all these values. And it's a whole lot faster than doing this here by hand. Okay, you just can't do that all the time, especially when you're calculating like thousands of numbers or something like that. You can't do it. You need a computer. All right. that's how you do it annually. So let's title this right here. Let's bold it right here. This is an annual compounded situation. Okay. There are other ways to compound your money. You can do it semi-annually. You can also do it quarterly. You can do it monthly. You can do it daily, and you can do it every second, and you can do it continuously, which means even at a shorter period of time than that, which is pretty awesome. Okay, and I will show you that in my next little video. I'm going to stop here, and this is part 1 of the video. Part 2, I'll take this right here, I'll expand on it, and we'll jump to semi-annually in part 2, and we'll probably do quarterly at the same time. So this will be a 2-part video. I'm just splitting it up because I'm getting a little tired. Okay, and I need a break, probably like you. Okay, so once again, you want to know how to do it by hand first. All right, how to do it manually. You'll be tested on this because you need to know how money works and how to do it by hand. And in my opinion, the only way you learn it is by doing. So, you know, understand this. And then, of course, you got to learn how to use Kick in the spreadsheet. And then we'll learn how to do the other methods here too, which is semi-annually, quarterly, and so on. Okay, there's a lot to learn. So not all in one video, okay, so I'm going to break it up in parts. All right, so this is Mr. Aynesworth. Hope you learned something there, and I will continue this lesson in my next video, part 2. I'll see you then. All right, bye-bye.